Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solid Rock, Minnesota podcast, a place to swing by for a brief moment for some stories or news and things to ponder. It's a place to take a small pause from your busy life. So grab yourself some coffee or a mug of tea or a pop, as we like to call it here in the North Country, and kick back for a moment. Take a breather. About a week ago, my best half had a little tickle in his throat and a dry, hacky cough. Figuring it was his allergies flaring up, he took an antihistamine and went about his day. During the night, the cough turned into some congestion and a little wheezing, which is not unusual for allergy man. He woke up the next day congested and sneezing. We figured he had the start of a cold he was dealing with. By Sunday night, it had been 3 days of him coughing, sneezing, and congested. I suggested to him that when he got to work in the morning, he should see about getting a COVID test. Not thinking he really had COVID, but figuring if he got tested, he could get another 2 days off work and rest up. He had been dragging the day before with feeling run down and fatigued. So what the heck? He has 4 months of sick leave or even more than that, and he won't be compensated for it when he retires. So he may as well take a couple days here and there and just use it up. At least that's my reasoning. So Monday morning came and he went to work. He still had the cough, and when his coworkers heard him, they sent him away to get tested for COVID. The plan was working just like I had hoped it would. He would be home until the results came in, and then he would be back to work midweek. It was all going just the way I had hoped it would. And then it happened. He got the results. Tuesday morning, he checked his mail, and there were the results from his COVID test. He had tested positive. That stupid COVID had hit our house. Fortunately, we both were vaccinated last spring, so his symptoms are mild, like a cold or maybe a little more fatigue, but pretty manageable. While he was on the phone with his employee health person going over the frames of being off, she had instructed him to make sure I get checked also, even though I didn't really have any symptoms. I was very tired, but I think that comes with the territory of sleeping next to a person who's coughing and sneezing and snoring like a freight train all night. But off I went down the 35 miles to get the COVID test. On my way down, I started thinking about all the scenarios that could happen. I finally came to the conclusion the easiest thing would be if I tested positive too. At least then we could quarantine together and just keep away from everyone else. Way easier than me isolating from my best half in the house and both of us quarantining from everyone outside the house. I started thinking, hey, maybe we can even pack up and find a remote spot in the national forest and go camping for a week. I was actually getting excited to get my test results back. Well, the results came back late Tuesday night. I was negative. Along with the results came a huge email file with instructions on what to do and how to isolate and quarantine. I have to say that the instructions from the CDC and the clinic were about as clear as an algae-filled lake during the dog days of summer. The instructions discussed the amount of time needed for quarantine. After faithfully reading the first 3 pages of the instructions, at the very bottom was the one sentence that read, "If you've been completely vaccinated, you do not need to quarantine." Huh? So there it was, the confusion setting in this nurse brain of mine. Am I free to not quarantine since I'm fully vaccinated? Do I still need to be quarantined from the public as I'm still surrounded by that big walking germ? Do we need to isolate my best half from me and I still need to quarantine myself from going out in the public? It was late when I was reading all the directions, so I set it aside until morning when I was more rested and my brain was functioning better. Morning came and I reread it, and still I had uncertainties of what to do. I am vaccinated, no symptoms, but still surrounded by the love of my life carrying around the COVID germs. Try as he may, he isn't the best at quarantining. And even if he did put his hearing aids in, I would still have to come close to him so he could lip read or hear me if we needed to communicate. I needed to come up with a game plan we both could live with for the next week or so. After rereading the guidelines for the 4th time, I finally figured out that if I am no longer in contact with the person with the virus, then I wouldn't need to quarantine at all since I had a negative test. But since the COVID virus is living and taking up residence all over my roommate's body, I need to quarantine and somehow isolate from him. I can remember when COVID first came into the mix of all our lives, we came up with a game plan. That was close to 2 years ago. We had talked about how we would separate ourselves from each other in the house if one of us got COVID. Well, back then it was really scary and a really scary reality. I have to say, I thought by now we'd be over all this drama. After all, we did our due diligence and we got our vaccinations. But as the virus mutates and more people come in contact with it, the numbers of positive cases and even those dying from it has risen dramatically the past month or so. COVID is once again rearing its ugly horns at us and laughing. During the beginning of the pandemic, we came up with the plan that if one of us got COVID, we would separate and the sick one would stay in the damn camper to ride out the quarantine days. The healthy one would keep the house running and deliver meals to the sick one. It was a great plan until the temperature dove below zero. So then we decided that we would block off the family room, laundry room, and small bathroom on one end of the house from the rest of the house. That was our plan almost 2 years ago, and now we're needing to put it into play. It's been a week since we started Operation Go to Your Room. At best, it will last another 4 to 5 days, and we can crawl out of our hole to live another day. It has been an experience I hope to never have to repeat. I have washed and sanitized everything that the COVID germ may have come in contact with. There are disinfectant wipes strategically located throughout the house and bottles of hand sanitizer all over the house on every table possible. We're doing our best that we can to be responsible COVID positive people. The last thing we would want to do is give it to someone. Daily, we're grateful that we made that choice to get the complete vaccinations because looking at the statistics, it could have wound up so much worse. For now, we are content to look out our separate windows on the opposite ends of the house and watch the corn grow in the field. Stay safe, everyone, in the best way you know how. Thanks for listening to the Solid Rock, Minnesota podcast. Time is precious, and we're very grateful and appreciate the time you have taken to give us a listen. If you'd like more information about Solid Rock, Minnesota, or you'd like to hear some of our other podcasts, you can find them, along with our blog and Monday morning music, at our website, www.solidrockminnesota.com. You can also contact us there if you'd like your free Solid Rock, Minnesota bumper sticker. Just message us a place to send it, and we'll pop it in the mail. Until next time, may you be filled with life, love, laughter, family, and friends, people who truly know you. Many blessings.